Hi, welcome everybody. I don't have a PowerPoint. I don't have a slide deck. I don't want to do all the talking here. But what I want to cover today is when I was a 6th grade teacher, we still had 20 minutes of SSR in our classroom, silent sustained reading. And like most SSR programs, what you realize are half the books are upside down, or the kids are I'm reading, I'm holding my book. It just happens to be upside down. And there was no interactiveness. I wanted to get the silent out of SSR, and I do like sustained reading, and I do want kids having choice in their reading, but I was looking for new ways to invigorate SSR, and what I decided to do was to flip my SSR into RSS. Is everybody familiar with the term RSS and what that kind of means, sort of, a little bit?
RSS feed?
Yeah, like an RSS feed. You're doing a session on blogging, so you'll know what we're talking about. But for those of you who don't, it's a way that you can quickly, there's a in plain English video on real simple syndication that you can watch. So I'm not going to describe things that people can describe better. But basically, it's just a way to pull a bunch of stuff into one place. And I use this for two things: to organize my student blogs for myself so I can follow them, and I use it for my students. I want them to create their own RSS feed where they're personalizing their text. They're basically making a textbook around a subject that they want to learn about. So one of the things that I do during independent reading is I tell them, I want you to choose something you want to learn about. It can be anything school-related, not school-related. If you really are into BMX bikes, well then let's go find all the blogs of BMX bikes and we're going to build you a feed. And you're going to document your learning using that text. So these kids build a text around their interest using, I use a tool called Feedly, and I'm going to show you how that works in a second.
Did you say RSS stands for?
Real Simple Syndication, am I correct, Joe? Yes, and if you go to YouTube and just type in plain English RSS, there's a great one there. Yeah?
I don't mean to interrupt you, but so would you say that it's similar to?
Please interrupt me all you want.
Creating I feel like a storify could almost accomplish the same. Well,
I was just about to say I use Storify with it, Joe. Okay. What I do is I have the kids then document their learning either on their own blog or with Storify. So they may not read every single article that comes in their feed, but if there's one that really moves them, I have the kids add that to a Storify. I'm glad you walked me right into it perfectly. No, then they add a reflection to their own Storify. Don't worry about it. It just means putting all your blogs in one spot. That's all you need to know about it. And what I use is a tool called Feedly. So if you went to feedly.com, you can sign in with your Google account. I see most of you guys are on Chromebook, so you just click log in with Google. When Google put Google Reader to death, Feedly luckily was able to collect all that information, so it was a smooth transition. I was using Feedly before I went over from before Google Reader died. But if you don't have a Feedly account, you can easily make one, and I encourage your students to make one. So the first thing I want to show you is how I keep track of my students' blogs. So in each of my classrooms, I make a list. It's hard. Let me kill the lights here. I guess it doesn't get much better. The resolution's kind of off. Is there a focus button on this anywhere? We'll just make do. So what you can see here, this says EDU 307 Spring 14, and here's all the posts from my students. So if I click on like this student, it will give you, stealing ideas on how to read a picture book, how I would go about writing modern fantasy, my favorite fantasy stories. Book Talk 1, the writing, reflecting on the writing process. I have my kids, whenever they're writing an essay, at each point of the writing process, I make them do a reflective post. What did you learn about yourself as you're pre-writing? What did you learn about yourself as through revisions? And then I just try to get them to just blog in the open, because I hate this kind of classroom blog. Go to page 4 and answer the 3 questions. Blog about your 3 questions. And you'll go to Joe's session on that's a blog. You go to Joe's session to take it to what was it? Blog what? The blazing. But I want to encourage, these are pre-service teachers, so I'm trying to encourage reflective practice. And you should be encouraging the same kind of reflective learning with your students. So that's what I tell my students all the time. My blog is the rough draft of my life. It's where I go to throw out ideas, try out ideas. Doesn't mean that's what I 100% agree in, but sometimes I'm just playing with ideas and perspectives. So that's how I set it up for my students. They each, I keep track of my students in Feedly. It is an awesome tool if you're going to have your students blogging. You might be using a blog platform like EduBlogs or Blogger, where you can make a blog roll. But I just find this so simple because it's also on my phone, which just ran out of battery. It's also on my iPad, so I can read. Of course, it means I'm grading a lot more. I'm providing feedback more often in more places because it is everywhere. And I find it's something I can do, like at bed at night. I might just rip through 3 of them real fast and provide some comments. Yes, sir.
I teach primary students, so we're not quite into the blogging yet. But I was wondering, as a professor, as somebody who has students who are doing a lot of blogging, how is it for you in terms of grading and keeping track of all your students' materials? Do you find it easier than when things were in print, or? I do find it easier, but that's just because it fits my personality. I can't lose things digital. If kids were to hand me 10 written assignments on paper, that's 10 things I can lose. And I will probably lose some percentage of them. But what you see here is you'll see the number of posts, 5, 4, 3. So the first thing I do is, I'm like, you just have to be a writer. So you just have to keep writing. So I don't really grade them, but I can keep track of completion. Did they do them, not do them? What I do, though, is I will give them specific feedback on their writing in the comments features. So I can go from here, I can click on the website, visit their website, then go down and leave their comments. So what I do is I will focus first on their writing structure. And for my students, and these are college level students, but the first few, my first comments were really about the genre of blogging. Like, oh, you didn't give me any paragraphs. Oftentimes in blogging, you have much shorter, even 1 to 2 sentence paragraphs. Oh, you're not embedding any multimedia. That's something that good bloggers do. And I try to frame my first initial feedback to students in terms of what are the norms and social practices of blogging. And so that's, Joe, is how I'll build that right into the assessments. But I find what I do, and this is where Storify comes back in, at the end, I have the kids pull together, like, what are your 5 best posts? And write a reflection of why. Show me how you grew as a writer. So you take your first post, maybe another one where you really learned how to effectively use remixing images, another one where you effectively learned how to embed multimedia, another one where you were comparing sources within a text, and then they create a Storify out of that as a method, and so there's a portfolio element almost. Right? Yeah, looking at their own growth. And that's what we have to constantly do with our students. Why are we doing all the interpretation of evidence? Use your blogs in an RSS feed to encourage students to interpret their own evidence of growth. And it's easy to do with blog tip.
All right, so I just want to make sure I'm clear. So Feedly is just the place to gather, to send all of those blog posts.
Yes.
Yeah, make it 10%.
So the students aren't necessarily using Feedly, right? Or are they going up?
No, I'm going to show that. I'm just showing my use, and then I'm going to show you how I use students to have them build their own textbooks next.
And can Feedly work with like Blogger or any kind of
Any,
okay.
and I'll show you how to import a link. Basically, any blog that has I'm trying to not be technical, but it can get links from the internet from anywhere and put it in one place. So that's how I use it as a teacher. Now, as Feedly to support my writers. Using Feedly to support my readers, for example, I might have the students make a topic, like here's my list of educational blogs, because that's for me, but let me go down to one for science.
Can you share lists?
Not yet. That is a tool that's coming. So I have one section for just history. I have one section for literacy teaching. Now, here's my science list, or my tech list, for example. So one of my students is interested in tech, per se. So they went and found a bunch of technology blogs that they're going to read. Now, they're not going to read all of these entries, because look, Ars Technica, there's 537 articles I haven't read. I have my students make a list. So if I click on tech, this could be my independent reading book, because I'm interested in tech. So I might read one of these articles, and then I encourage my students to then use that in their own source, blog about what you're reading. That's another thing I use Feedly for, is to get my students to really start blogging about what they are reading. And it's interest-driven. That's the beautiful part about replacing SSR with RSS, because you're creating interest-driven textbooks for the kids. Yes, sir. I will say at the primary grade levels, I have scoured the internet for reading levels at below, but getting below 6th grade, it's tough to find.
There's one resource that a teacher had shared with us, one of our professors. It's called Newsella, and that,
I love Newsella.
And that can go as low as 3rd grade. I teach 1st, so there's really nothing quite there yet. But
But you can make a list, Joe, of just other 1st grade teachers.
yeah. I can make a list of blogs of good 1st grade teachers and what they're doing in their classrooms and things like that. I forget what my question was going to be.
So let me show you how I could add a feed. Let me just go find a blog. Does anybody have a favorite blog that they read, or a topic? What do you like to learn about?
Oh, what I like to learn about? I don't know. I do a lot looking at STEM.
Non-school, just in your own
Cooking.
personal life. Cooking, okay. So if I were to search for a cooking blog, and there's probably a million. So the best food blogs is, so let's go to 80 Breakfasts. All right. Now, I can take this link. In my own computer, I actually have a Feedly plugin just to grab the blog post. But now, if I were to just grab that link, all right, if I go over to here, I can just click on Add Content. All right, and there, now look how nice that looks. I mean, it looks like a magazine. It pulls up the images, it adds them, and now I click Add this to Feedly. Now I want my own category, so I'm going to make this my cooking blog, my cooking blogs. So now, and now I have a list called cooking blogs, and I can go through and add in. Maybe I want to add in this Pioneer Woman, you know, from the Cooking Network. I mean, she started as a blogger. I add this, and I can then add this to my cooking blogs. You see where it went? Cooking blogs. Yep. Add. So I now can start building my textbook, and eventually the developers are going to create a way that you can share your these are called roles. But I have students have so many different interests. So I have students who are just into World War II. Students are into knitting. Students are into Minecraft. and they make these lists, and they have to then talk about what they read, talk about how they share their posts.
Are they putting video and other digital content into this too?
Well, this is other people's content. On their blogs, yes. I use it as a teacher to keep track of my
I mean, when
blogs.
they're collecting, say it's like SSR or RSS, and are students also using that time to watch videos?
I find, even though, and this is all anecdotal, I have no research, I find that even though a lot of blogs insert videos, kids still spend more time on the text. Unless, caveat, they have a very specific thing they need to learn. So if they're trying to learn, say, how to add a link in Google Sites, there they'll go to a blog and find a video tutorial. It's just-in-time, on-demand learning that they take advantage of.
How is this different from like what's it called?
It's not.
Flipbook?
It's very similar to Flipboard.
Flipboard.
But this integrates to a Google ID. It integrates that. So what I want to spend now, what I want to do with you folks is I want to have you folks start building your own. Does anybody already have an RSS feed that they use or a reader that they use? So why don't we all go and make it? Let's do that now. So everybody just go to feedly.com. And you're going to need to sign in.
I know Ian uses it a lot.
Yeah.
So we could just.
And now, what do we want? We can make a list together. You guys want to make it about like teaching blogs, education blogs, or
Does it? I already seem to have. I wonder if I already
He
have.
probably did, because
Or
he's
if, maybe I already have it. I
yeah,
guess I
you already do.
Because
Because
you
you
have
have
all
a
this content
you
here.
have a
I've
content.
never used it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you click over there, so you have a list.
Okay.
So you haven't really categorized anything yet,
Right.
but you can add content there by going to links. Now, on my own computer, I actually, whenever I come across a blog with a link, I can just click add my RSS, and then it'll automatically go.
And some sites have the little RSS thing.
You just click on it.
Click on that, and it
Automatically goes to feed. Well, you have to do a little bit of code.
Through.
Yeah, you have to add in a little bit of.
if we go to the Google Play Store or whatever, will there be a Feedly app?
There is a Feedly extension for
Feedly
Chrome.
extension.
Or I think Feedly app, not an extension. Sorry.
I'm going to throw a little wrench in.
Uh-huh.
So, we always look at things with teacher eyes. And so I happen to just click on gaming because I'm interested in gamification of education. And see this.
Well, if they're doing this at school,
Yeah.
chances are all of this will be blocked because your filters might automatically block.
Okay.
Yeah. But if your filters are decent filters, they would just block those with inappropriate comments. So that blog wouldn't show up.
Okay.
Now, if they're doing it at home, yes. But, I mean, if they're on the internet at home in general, that's going to happen.
Right.
What I often, if you're worried about that, you can have the kids bring in their list of URLs that they want to include into their interactive reading time and pre-approve them. So we've all gone to Feedly and signed in. You can start by looking for your blogs. One place to look for teaching blogs. If you're looking for a great list, if you go to teach.com, I think it's Teach 100. It's just people can register their education blogs there. And so it's a great place to find blogs to follow as a teacher.
What did you say the thing was?
Teach.com/teach100. So if I was interested in tech and learning, no, he doesn't have a RSS feed in. button installed yet. I could then grab that and go back and add that to my list. So I'm going to walk around and just kind of help you folks get set up and started, getting your posts going. But think about it with your students. They can really start to build their own text. And I end and start my day pretty much going through my Feedly roles. So for mine, for example, of course now I have a cooking role. I have like the Ed Reform one where I have, opinions on both the right and left. I have a Connecticut list of Connecticut bloggers I like. My education blog list with a ton of sources. My history blogs, my elementary science blogs. So like in elementary science, I have Science News for Kids. My tech list, my professional development list, and then each of my classrooms gets its own list of blog posts. And I'm trying to start a new one, and I'm trying to differentiate my teaching list into just the digital teaching and learning blogs. And that's what I'm finding is as I get more and more into using Feedly, I want to get more and more into how deep and specific my lists go. And when I click on a link, you can tag your posts, which are great ways if you find a post that you like and it's about something. So you saw this post and it was about, say for example, this one was, I'm just making this up, but maybe this one is about Edmodo. So you can just tag that post, and then you'll be able to search via tags through all of your old posts, so it can save them for later. You also get the options to, and this is what you guys see Ian do all the time. He sends his to Evernote and then to Google Plus or to Pocket or to Twitter. Like I have on mine, I use another tool called If Then Then That, and so if I save an article for later, it will automatically go to Twitter and it will automatically go to like Google Plus, things like that.
So when we search on Feedly, we're doing a search just for blogs, right?
Yeah, and that's already content that's already been added. You can just get the blog URL, or if you can't see on my computer. Hold on, let me share my screen. See, so what I did on my computer, if I'm on a blog, let me just. So I'll go to Ian's blog, for example. wioburn.com. And see how this little button popped up right here? So that's the RSS feed button. And I click on that, and I can subscribe to his feed. And it goes right to Feedly for me. And I click subscribe now. But I need to categorize this. So I'm going to put this in my education blogs. I know you can. I'm doing this more for the people that are on the... All right, so I'm going to click that plus Feedly button again. And I will put that under education blogs. And then hit add. So you can do it from two ways. You can search just the content that Feedly already gives you, or you can just search the web for content.
Just have to find that RSS feed symbol.
Yeah.
Is that what we do?
Well, no. For now, I will post directions on how to add. Because you have to add Feedly as a choice to that button, and it'll be easier for you to just post directions on how to do that than to show you right now, because I can't specifically remember all the steps.
Okay.
You gotta admit I don't know something. I added it, but it's like I have to go find how to add it.
Okay.
But for now, you could just copy this.
Oh, right. Okay, I could and then add it to Feedly.
Yes,
Okay, and that would work.
that would work too.
Because I've tried using the RSS,
button?
the button.
Yeah, no, you have to set it up.
Okay,
And I will
that's
go
fine.
I will find the instructions and I will post the instructions on how to set that up as soon as we're done here. There's good directions, and I think I added it to my Evernote. I'll have to go back and look on how to do that. Or that's a challenge right now. Who can solve it? Google, add Feedly to RSS, Chrome RSS button. Let's figure out if we can do this all together.
So once I have that address,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm someplace else.
Okay, so you're at Feedly now.
Yes, so I'll just go home, because I went to the program.
I don't know what this is. And then you hit that plus button.
Okay, thank you. So, and I can, release.
Gail found the instructions, but they're a little, see that?
Yeah, they're not easy to.
That's why I said I was able to do it. So I will make a screencast of how to do it because they're not easy to follow. You have to go in your extensions tabs and switch some things around in Chrome. And I will do that for you, but instead of me trying to show you how to do that now, let's just look at content and look at ways to support this. Now, my other issues that I always had with SSR was the silent part. I want my reading to be interactive. And by using Feedly, I can increase the interactivity because I'm having the students do something with what they're reading. If you're not doing something with the text, if you're not driving yourself back into the text, what are you really reading for? I mean, yes, you can read for enjoyment and motivation, but I'm trying to use this time of independent reading to teach reading. So I will have the kid